I'll keep the preamble brief. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what you should look at within yourself if you find yourself continually attracting very needy kind of partners. My name is Zachary Stockill, and since 2013, I've been helping men and women from all over the world overcome retroactive jealousy, overcome obsessive jealousy, and enjoy happier, healthier relationships. If you'd like more information about my work or you'd like to work with me one-on-one, please visit my website at retroactivejealousy.com. I received a really interesting question. I think it was a comment on a YouTube video recently from a viewer of this channel we'll call Chris. Chris writes, "Perhaps you've covered this before, but I'd be curious if you have thoughts on what one should look at within themselves if they tend to attract very needy partners." The first thing I would say in response to you, Chris, is that if this is a pattern for you, if you keep attracting, as you put it, very needy women, over and over again, if you are continually attracting very needy partners, on some level, they are buying what you are selling. In other words, even if it isn't immediately obvious to you, on some level you are communicating that you are available to very needy partners. On some level, the message that you are putting out there is something along the lines of, needy women walk this way. So the trick for you is to get clear on exactly how you are communicating that message, even if you don't necessarily realize it. Now, obviously, this is where working with a great therapist or coach can come in handy, but just some kind of blanket advice for this kind of question. I would imagine that you aren't establishing and communicating your boundaries very well with these women. In other words, they're probably asking you to do certain things for them, or they're probably asking you to spend more time than you would like. They're probably making requests of you, both big and small, and I would imagine you're probably not as good as you could be at establishing boundaries, at saying very firm no's when they're asking requests of you or they're making requests of you that you simply don't want to accommodate. So obviously this can involve things like spending more time together too early on in the relationship than you'd feel comfortable with, maybe bailing them out financially over and over again, maybe always being available to them every single time, 24/7, whenever they have anything they need from you. The point is, be sure you're very clear on exactly what kind of person you're looking for, and then get clear on exactly what that kind of person would be interested in. So for example, if you would like to be with women who are a little more independent, a little more emotionally stable, think hard about what kind of man that kind of woman would like. It's kind of obvious, but I would imagine you would agree that independent, emotionally stable women tend to like independent, emotionally stable men. This is just an example, but you get my drift. So establish firmer boundaries and be clear on exactly what messages you don't want to be putting out there to the women you're dating. So coming back to this example, if you have things going on, if you have appointments or work, or you're simply engaged with your friends, whatever, be clear when they ask you to spend time together that, I'm busy that night, but I can see you in 3 days or something like that. Or if they're asking you to bail them out financially and you don't feel comfortable with that, establish that boundary as early on in the relationship as possible. Over the years as I've gotten older, I've become increasingly efficient at communicating and establishing boundaries as early on in the relationship as possible. So I'm in a relationship right now, but when I was single not so long ago, when I was, exploring different relationships and dating around quite a bit, I became rather polarizing in my, early dates with people. I would put out my opinions very strongly, and I would introduce hypothetical situations and ask my date for, well, what do you think about X and what do you think about Y? I'm not afraid to be somewhat polarizing in my dating because I want to put certain messages out there very clearly that I don't want to be with a really needy woman. I don't want to be with someone who I have to save all the time. I'm not looking to save anyone, and I think it's very important to communicate that as early on as possible, sometimes just explicitly in the relationship, in the dating period. Also check in with yourself and ask yourself whether or not there's some part of you that kind of gets off on saving women. Are you, more or less a white knight? Do you have a bit of a savior complex in you? Is the idea of, dashing and rescuing a woman really appealing to you? Because it is appealing for a lot of men. I have very strong feelings about this because a lot of these guys fall into what Dr. Robert Glover would call nice guy syndrome, where they act like this nice guy and on the surface they're doing all these things and they're chivalrous and all these things, but there's a lot of unspoken needs and unspoken expectations that the nice guy isn't verbalizing. So he's accommodating his woman's request and he's rescuing her and he's saving her, but there's a deep resentment that's building up at the same time because he's not being above board and communicating his needs, his boundaries, his desires. So check in with yourself if that doesn't sound familiar on some level. Maybe you do have a bit of a savior complex. Maybe there is a part of you that finds the idea of saving a woman kind of enticing. Also ask yourself if you've ever thought or spoken the phrase, "I can change her." Because a lot of women do this in their relationships with men, just to kind of generalize a little bit. A lot of women enter relationships with kind of loser guys, frankly, with the attitude of, he has all these red flags and he has all these really terrible qualities, but I can fix him, I can change him. Guys do this too, where they'll get involved with a woman who's usually very physically attractive and very beautiful and vivacious in the life of the party. Meanwhile, there's a parade of red flags behind her and she's falling apart all the time and she needs a guy to bail her out all the time. There's a lot of serious problems, that she presents relatively early on in the courting phase. But the guy says to himself, well, I can change her. I can fix her. Ask yourself if you've ever said that to yourself. Typically speaking, guys who say things like that, like I can fix her, I can change her, are the ones who tend to attract very needy partners. Because again, it's all about the fact that they're buying whatever you're selling. So even on a subconscious level, if there's any part of you that thinks, oh, I can fix her, or I can help her grow up, or I can rescue her, she's going to pick up on that subconsciously. And again, she's going to buy what you're selling. Even if that doesn't seem immediately obvious to you, even though you might be communicating that on a subconscious level. So I hope you found this video helpful. And for you and anyone watching this video who wants a little more help getting in touch with their feelings, getting clear about their boundaries, their values, their red flags, their deal breakers in relationships, and if you are a retroactive jealousy sufferer at the same time, I wanted to take a moment to promote my new masterclass. It's called The Path to Peace. It's my newest project. It's almost 9 years in the making. And this is the only online masterclass that I'm aware of that is designed specifically for retroactive jealousy sufferers who have questions about their partner's past choices, who have questions about their partner's past values, and who aren't exactly sure if their retroactive jealousy is more or less irrational or rational. If that sounds like you, I'd encourage you to take a look at my all-new masterclass, The Path to Peace. You can click a link in the description for all the details. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you got anything out of this video today, please take a minute to let me know by clicking the like button below. I'll also ask you to make sure you subscribe to my channel to be notified of new videos moving forward. And while you're at it, please leave a comment. I'm always really curious to hear what you guys think of these videos, and I'm always curious to hear, if they're making an impact or not. So if you have any thoughts for me today, please be sure to leave a comment beneath this video. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.